Hey man, y'all already know what's going on with me. It's Rel Lhyf here at SUPERMAXX. I appreciate y'all pulling back up on me. Just wanted to get into the history behind the term changang, where it came from, how it originated, where it started. Let's get into the video. Let me pop my shit.
Mr. President, I have a brother about 14 years old. A man hired him from me and I heard of him no more. He went and sold him to McGree and they's been working him in prison for 12 months. I asked him to let me have him, but he won't let him go.
For a period of nearly 80 years, between the Civil War and World War II, black Southerners were no longer slaves, but they were not yet free.
First and foremost, peace and blessings to each and every single one of y'all that continue to pull up on me here at SUPERMAXX. I highly appreciate it. I appreciate the comments. I appreciate everybody hitting me up about the content and telling me what y'all think. So this video right here is basically about the history of the term chain gang, the history of the chain gang prison system in the South, and why we continue to call the prison system chain gang today in the South. Now, I know it differs from majority of the prisons around the world. The South and the history of the prison system in the South is a lot different. You know, that goes back to the war behind slavery and all of that. You know, it stems back to all of that. The Emancipation Proclamation, it stems back to a history that majority of the United States don't share with the South. So I was looking at a brother's video, young man by the name of kill.bout TV. Good content, man. I like his channel. He, like myself, he did time in the Georgia State prison system. And he called the prison the chain gang. And there was a couple of viewers in the comments that were confused as to why he was calling it the chain gang. Per definition, the chain gang is a group of prisoners chained together, working in a field, a farm, side of the road. That is the term chain gang. That is where the term originally came from to a certain extent. There's a lot more history behind the reason why we call the prison system chain gang today in the South. So that's what this video is about. I want to share a couple videos with y'all from other people. I'm going to share those links as well in the description. Y'all go ahead and check all that out. Feel free to comment whether you agree, disagree, whatever the case may be, man. Let us know what y'all feel, man, and we can talk about it. Once again, this video is not made to cause any issues or any confusion. It's actually I'm attempting to clarify and clear some stuff up. With that being said, man, y'all take a look at some of this stuff I got for y'all, and we'll get back to it.
In one of the most shameful and little-known chapters of American history, generations of black Southerners were forced to labor against their will.
From almost the first moment, white Southerners were responding to try to put African Americans back into a position as close to slavery as they possibly could.
The Old South and what was quickly becoming the New South could not proceed without the work of African Americans.
But if you had something for free in the past, you don't necessarily want to pay for it now.
It was a straight, simple, exploitative system. There was only power, there was only force, and there was only brutality.
What happened in that period of time was so much more terrible than anything most Americans recognize or understand today. The depth of poverty, the inability of African Americans to access any of the mechanisms of wealth achievement and growth, they're all rooted in this terroristic kind of regime that existed in so many places.
Their ability to have what we call the American dream. That is what has been stolen from black folks all through the South. And that legacy has to be understood so that people will be able to speak to it and give our ancestors voice.
was a point in time when the slaves were freed from slavery, but they were lured into the prison system, what we call the prison system today in the South. Mind you, I'm speaking specifically on the prison systems in the South, not speaking for the whole United States or the whole world, just about the prison systems in the South and the history of the prison systems in the South, the history of the chain gang in the South. There was a point in time where any little thing will get you locked up and you'll get lost in that system. They put you on somebody's farm, put you to work for years behind anything, fake charges, whatever the case may be. You know, they did what they had to get the slaves that were freed back as close as possible to slavery. And the only way they could do that was through locking them up, putting them on farms and making them work. Not saying that nobody was breaking the law. I'm quite sure people were breaking the law, but I promise you 80-90% of the people that was arrested during these times for these serious charges wasn't real. Remember, this is the beginning of chain gang. This is the beginning of how the chain gang originally started, where the term chain gang come from. Good cup of coffee. Keep it going. So we're gonna get in a little bit deeper, a little bit more into the history, get into the history of the peonage and where the word peon come from, how it originally started. But before I get back into the video, I wanted to share some with y'all that I learned from a man that went by the name of Richard Claxton Gregory, AKA Dick Gregory.
Now, how do you make a cop change? Simple. You pass legislation and say every cop have to be insured. So we'll take out policy. Everybody carry a gun, have to be insured.
He was a revolutionist, civil rights activist. He started off as a comedian. He was a nutritionist. He was many things to you know, in life, and to his followers, he meant many things. When I first started getting into Dick Gregory, I was getting into the history behind the civil rights movement and what he played part in. I'm quite sure every single one of y'all that's watching this can go YouTube the name Dick Gregory and you'll see what I mean. But Dick Gregory got into the history about the police in a few videos I watched from him, in a few interviews and stuff, and he was speaking about the history of policing and how it originally came from runaway slaves being chased down by bounty hunters or slave owners with dogs, and that's how policing originally started. The white men running through them woods with them dogs were chasing runaway slaves and chasing black folk through the woods. So I said that to say that we got to keep in mind that the history behind the prison system was very much real, and it really did happen. We can't just go about every day like it didn't and, you know, forget the history behind it or any of that, especially in these days and times. June 2020. So we got to keep in mind where this comes from, whose system this really belongs to, and why we're in the state that we're in now as far as the prison system in the whole United States, but specifically the South. From Virginia down to Florida, over to Texas, and the states in between that. Again, y'all go ahead and drop your comments. If there's anything you want to share with us, just drop your comments. Let's go ahead and get into this next clip.
It was a crime in the South for a farm worker to walk beside a railroad. It was a crime in the South to speak loudly in the company of white women. It was a crime to sell the products of your farm after dark.
Anything from spitting or drinking or being found to be drunk in public or loitering in public spaces could result in confinement. So there was an over-exaggeration of African-American criminality during this time period. It's not to absolve all prisoners from having committed crimes, but there were many trumped-up charges.
One of the most infamous set of laws to come out of this period were the pig laws, passed in Mississippi, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, enhancing penalties for what had been previously misdemeanor offenses to now felony offenses.
In Mississippi, theft of a pig worth as little as $1 could mean 5 years in prison. In Tennessee, hard labor might result from stealing an 8-cent fence rail.
But the most powerful, the most damaging of all of these laws were the vagrancy statutes. In every southern state, you became a criminal if you could not prove at any given moment that you were employed.
I think from the moment I started doing time to the last bid, altogether, I probably gave the system about 12 years of my life. Never not once claimed to be innocent, except for one time, but that's a different story. We'll share that in a different video, right? But from my understanding, there's a couple prisons around the United States that pays the convicts to do their details, to work on the side of the roads, work in the fields, whatever they're doing. They don't pay the convicts in the South. We don't get paid those couple pennies that they pay y'all. We don't get paid that. We can't grow our hair, none of that. We get our head shaved, beards shaved. We don't get none of that. The environment in the South compared to the environment in the rest of the United States and the stigma behind the prison system is completely different. Our prison system down here, its origins and its foundation was based on oppression. There's no way to get around that. It's not like they just dropped a couple laws and it changed. It didn't change. It's still going on to this day and through time. This part one to this video, I'm gonna do 2 parts to it. On the second part, we're gonna go down the line and show you how it's a repetitive cycle. I'm hoping y'all picking up what I'm putting down. I'm bringing the history of the changang in the South into this video to bring it all to a point. Definitely watch part 2. It'll be coming at you real soon. Appreciate y'all tuning in, man. It's SUPERMAXX. I'm Rel Lhyf, and it's the difference between a convict and an inmate. Let's keep that shit understood.